Imagine a creature that waits like a burial mound, then pulls a living animal into a whirlpool of bone and teeth. This is the swamp ambush reptile that spins prey apart. Today, we chase one brutal question. How does the American alligator, Alligator mississippiensis, use a spinning death roll to turn prey into wreckage and survival into spectacle? This is not myth or movie gore. The death roll is a real, repeatable tactic, an engineering of violence. We will dissect its anatomy, nerves, behaviors, and ecological consequences. Swamps are slow, dark theaters. Mud, roots, and tannins hide a patient predator. The alligator blends into that murk, while gravity and water become accomplices to its brutality. Its silhouette is a low, armored prow. But the real danger is kinetic. A torque, a twist, a spin that converts bite force into rotary carnage. Few animals are equipped for this. We will follow the chain from jaw to spinal cord to behavior. Why the alligator evolved the death roll, how it executes that spin, and what it means ecologically. Expect bloodless biology turned grotesque, muscle architecture, sensory wiring, and the exact moments when prey ceases to be a meal and becomes mechanical rubble. This narration is urgent and cold. We will not romanticize nature. We will stare directly at the mechanics of killing and at what that reveals about survival. First, anatomy. Then, the death roll in slow motion. Finally, reproduction, ecology, and a moral reflection about humans in their wetlands. Stay with the spin. To understand the spin, we must measure the machine. Meet the American alligator, muscle, bone, and a brain tuned to seize, secure, and rotate its world. Alligator bodies are compact engines. Massive tails, low-slung legs, and armored skulls concentrate force. Their design is optimized for explosive lunges and sustained aquatic power. The skull of Alligator mississippiensis is a fusion of plates. Muscles attach deep and wide, producing bone-crushing bites. Teeth interlock like prison bars around prey. Bite force measurements rank alligators among the strongest of living reptiles. That initial clamp is not to slice, but to grip with unrelenting pressure while the body sets up the roll. A short, heavily muscled neck and flexible spine allow rapid torque. Vertebrae interlock for stability, while muscles generate the rotational force needed for the violent spin. The tail is the engine of rotation. Thick and muscular, it provides leverage against water, whipping the animal into rotation and amplifying torque from the body core. Legs anchor and brace. In water, they act like rudders. In mud, like grappling hooks. They stabilize the alligator long enough to transfer force into a controlled spin. Bony scutes and tough hide are armor and leverage. They protect internal organs from thrashing prey and provide attachment points for the massive muscles that drive the death roll. White, glycolytic muscle fibers enable explosive bursts. Those fibers fatigue quickly, but that first intense minute is all a predator needs to win a fight with physics. Alligators sense vibrations with their integumentary pits and see well in low light. A tactile map and night vision let them time the ambush and place the lethal clamp. Eyes atop the skull peer like periscopes, ears close when submerged. Sight and hearing combine into an economy of cues: small ripple, quick sound, instant decision to lunge. Their nervous system balances reflex and precision. Spinal circuits trigger the roll reflexively once a certain grip and posture are achieved. speed without slow deliberation. The alligator brain is robust, not huge. It does not philosophize. It computes trajectories, motor patterns, and timing. Practical cognition wired for ambush and mechanical problem-solving. Temperature and oxygen limit performance. The alligator times high-energy behaviors to warm water and brief windows of oxygen efficiency, turning physiology into strategy. Compared to crocodiles, American alligators have broader snouts and different leverages. That shape favors crushing grip over slicing, assisting the death roll's role in dismemberment. Their jaw muscles generate clamp and holding force, while jaw shape prevents easy escape. The mouth acts as a vise, fixing prey as the body executes the destructive spin. Water multiplies force. The alligator uses fluid resistance to amplify torque. Every rotation exaggerates limb and tail movement, turning kinetic energy into shredding power. Pressure sensors in the skin inform the animal of grip stability. If the prey shifts, neural feedback adjusts tail thrust and spinal rotation to maintain lethal momentum. A death roll is costly. It burns glycogen and risks injury. The alligator employs it for sizable prey, where the caloric reward offsets the physical expense. Spins can backfire. Twisting against heavy resistance risks strain or broken bones. Evolution made a predator that punishes both prey and, occasionally, itself. Young alligators practice scaled-down rolls on smaller prey. The maneuver becomes a motor program over time, honed by trial, error, and violent success. The death roll is a sequence: stalk, lunge, clamp, anchor, twist. Each step is precise. A single misstep makes the entire tactic fail. It is choreography turned lethal. Alligators ambush from concealment. Timing strikes to when prey is vulnerable at the water's edge. Surprise reduces the need for prolonged chases or risky grappling. Victims range from fish and turtles to deer and feral hogs. For larger mammals, the roll becomes essential, turning a limb into detachable cargo and speeding consumption. Turtles, with armored shells, force alligators to use rotation to break attachment points or dislocate limbs. The roll exposes soft tissue, otherwise shielded by armor. After dismemberment, the alligator caches parts, sometimes floating prey to dry or soften. Eating is methodical. Maximize caloric intake while minimizing handling time. Beyond the death roll, alligators use patience as a weapon. They freeze for hours, then convert milliseconds into catastrophic force. That patience is predatory genius. At night, their attack rates spike. Low light favors stealth and surprise. Their sensory suite turns nocturnal murk into a hunting advantage of terrifying efficiency. Edges between land and water are ambush sweet spots. The alligator uses partial submergence to mask motion and exploit the physics of two different media at once. Sometimes alligators aggregate where food concentrates, but coordinated hunting is rare. Their interactions around kills are competitive and often violent rather than cooperative. Adults defend basking sites and prime ambush points. Territory disputes can escalate into fatal fights, with bites and rolls used in agonistic displays and wounds. While not tool users, alligators manipulate environment. They build nests, use logs to hide, and position themselves with uncanny awareness of currents and concealment. Alligators are apex predators, but not invincible. Large crocodiles, humans, and disease can kill them. Still, in many wetlands, they sit near the top of the food chain. Their behavior adjusts to prey. With bony or struggling victims, they spin more violently. With soft-bodied prey, they limit motion and swallow quickly to avoid loss. Alligators learn site-specific tactics and remember successful ambush points across seasons, showing spatial memory and behavioral flexibility that improve hunting success. Fights over food can leave deep scars or cripple limbs. Wounded alligators may lose feeding efficiency and face starvation, a brutal cost of competitive survival. When humans encroach on wetlands, encounters increase. An alligator sees a dog as prey and a child as suitable size. Misjudgment leads to tragedy on both sides. Field observations show repeated use of the death roll on large prey, sometimes involving seconds-long rotations that tear through muscle, tendon, and bone like a drill. Researchers use slow-motion video to quantify torque and rotation rate. These clips reveal how tail thrust and spinal flexion synchronize to produce catastrophic centrifugal forces. Lab studies show muscle recruitment patterns during rolls. Motor neurons fire in bursts, producing rotational acceleration that would be impossible without precise timing and anatomical leverage. The death roll increases feeding efficiency. It reduces handling time, decreases risk of injury from struggling prey, and turns large carcasses into manageable portions. The death roll is not mere spectacle. It shapes prey populations, influences scavenger dynamics, and restructures wetland food webs through selective removal of individuals. As mesoapex predators, alligators control fish, mammal, and bird populations. Their kills provide meals for vultures, crabs, and opportunistic fish, fueling whole food chains. Their nests and wallows shape water flow and create microhabitats. These engineering behaviors influence amphibian pools and vegetation patterns long after the spin has ended. Remains from dismembered prey feed an array of scavengers. The alligator's violent technique increases carcass fragmentation, making nutrients more accessible to decomposers and small predators. By removing weak or old individuals, alligators can increase herd health among prey species. Their predation is a brutal form of natural selection at work. Where ranges overlap, niche partitioning occurs. Alligators favor freshwater swamps. Crocodiles occupy saltier zones. These boundaries reduce direct conflict, but heighten evolutionary pressures. Wounds from the death roll can spread bacteria and parasites, feeding disease ecology. Yet, scavengers quickly recycle nutrients, showing the double edge of predatory violence. Human alteration of wetlands changes prey availability. More edge habitat means more encounters, and sometimes more aggressive feeding patterns from alligators adapting to new diets. Alligators prey on invasive species, sometimes controlling them. But invasives can also outcompete native prey, altering alligator hunting behavior and the frequency of death rolls. The cumulative effect of alligators' feeding strategies shapes wetland biodiversity. Their violence is an ecosystem process, a force as structural as water or fire. Alligators are largely solitary. Interactions spike around food and breeding. Those moments magnify aggression, bites, posturing, and sometimes death rolls used against rivals in rage. Courtship involves bellowing, body displays, and scent. Males use size and force to dominate breeding pools. Aggression here can be fatal for smaller competitors seeking mates. Dominance is spatial and energetic. Larger males control prime ambush and nesting territory, indirectly dictating which individuals get to practice the deadly arts of hunting. Temporary aggregations for abundant food rarely mean cooperation. There is tolerance, then violence. The weak are pushed aside, the bold risk injury for access to fresh meat. Females guard nests fiercely. After hatching, they sometimes assist hatchlings to water and protect them briefly. but parental investment is short relative to human standards. The majority of hatchlings die young, preyed on by birds, fish, and even other alligators. High juvenile mortality enforces a brutal reproductive strategy centered on numbers. Cannibalism occurs. Large alligators sometimes eat smaller conspecifics, a stark reminder that survival pressures can turn kin into food under resource stress. Breeding is seasonal and synchronized with floods and warm temperatures, ensuring hatchlings enter a world of abundant resources if they survive the shoals of predators surrounding them. Females build tall vegetation nests. Eggs incubate with the heat of decay and sun. Incubation temperature even influences sex ratios, a fragile balance affected by climate. Hatchlings grow rapidly if successful. Growth rates influence future dominance and hunting style. Faster-growing individuals specialize earlier in larger prey and more violent tactics. Alligators can live for decades in the wild. Longevity gives time for learning, territorial establishment, and repeated use of the death roll over a life shaped by countless kills. From egg to apex predator, the alligator's life cycle is a gauntlet. Each stage selects for toughness, stealth, and an anatomy built to seize and spin with lethal efficiency. Reproductive strategies verge on the extreme. Many offspring, fierce maternal defense, and high juvenile sacrifice. Brutality here is evolutionary currency, traded for survival odds. Human alteration of nesting sites and climate shifts, incubation temperatures, skewing sex ratios and threatening future populations, an invisible toll on an already violent life cycle. Having mapped body, brain, and behavior, we now examine the wider canvas. How the alligator's violent tactics reverberate through marshes, rivers, and human landscapes. Alligators sit near the top of many southern wetland food webs. Their kills influence prey behavior, density, and even vegetation through indirect cascading effects. In many systems, alligators act as keystone species. Their presence maintains ecological balance, creating habitats for amphibians and controlling populations of mid-sized mammals. By fragmenting and dispersing carcasses, alligators accelerate decomposition and nutrient cycling, redistributing energy from vertebrates to microbes, insects, and detritivores. Urban sprawl puts humans and alligators into contact. Feeding by people teaches boldness, increasing attack risk, and changing natural hunting patterns to rely on easy calories. Once hunted nearly to extinction, American alligators rebounded under protection. Yet habitat loss, pollution, and climate change keep their recovery fragile and contested. Conservation involves habitat protection, controlled hunting, and public education. Managing human-alligator interactions is as much about psychology as about biology. Alligators provide services. They regulate prey, maintain water holes, and boost biodiversity. Their death rolls, gruesome as they seem, are threads in a larger ecological loom. Rising temperatures, development, and altered hydrology threaten the delicate balance. The alligator's future depends on intact wetlands and human willingness to coexist with violence in nature. Culturally, alligators inspire fear, respect, and profit. They appear in myth and media as monsters. That image both protects and endangers them, depending on human choices. Remove the alligator and wetlands shift. Reed beds expand, amphibian pools shrink, and some prey species explode, unraveling balances that took millennia to form. Watching a death roll provokes revulsion and awe. We must ask, How do we reconcile admiration for adaptation with discomfort at a creature designed for exquisite violence? Humans altered the wetlands that forged this predator. We have a responsibility to preserve the systems that produced such behaviors, even when they terrify our sensibilities. Do we intervene to soften nature's brutality? Interventions risk collapsing evolved dynamics. The ethical choice is rarely simple. Conservation can require accepting discomfort. Protecting wetlands is protecting both killers and prey. It is a commitment to ecological complexity, not sentimental curation. This is where ethics meets the muddy waterline. Science deciphers the mechanism, but wonder remains. The death roll is a stark example of how evolution engineers systems that are efficient, terrifying, and beautifully cruel. If you enter their realm, respect distance. Never feed wild alligators. Avoid dusk and water edges. Curiosity without caution invites tragedy, for animal and human alike. We need more field data, better cameras, and long-term studies to understand how changing climates alter predation tactics like the death roll and their ecological ripple effects. Anatomy, neural control, and environment converge to produce a spinning death that is both tactic and signature. The alligator's role is evolution made mechanical and merciless. Watching violence in nature forces us to confront our own fragility. The alligator does not hate. It executes a perfected motor pattern, honed by selection over millennia. We admire efficiency, fear brutality, and are unsettled by beauty in violence. The alligator's death roll leaves us with a deeper question. How comfortable are we with wild reality? If wetlands vanish, so does the context that shaped this predator. Support habitat protection, responsible management, and research, so these ecosystems and their brutal truths persist. We return to the central puzzle. How and why does the American alligator drag prey into a spinning death? Anatomy, tail power, and neural timing provide the answer. Picture the spin. A muzzle locked on flesh, a tail whipping water into a cyclone, centrifugal force tearing muscle from bone. The tableau is brutal, precise, unavoidable. Nature is indifferent, not malicious. The alligator's death roll is a product of selective pressure, physics, and anatomy, a dark ballet that keeps wetland life in motion. You have watched biomechanics become horror. Remember the swamp's rules when you next cross its edge. Respect, distance, and the knowledge that evolution can be brutally ingenious.